Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bella, and I am your Wednesday host for Planet Pathlings. I'm sorry I've been kind of absent lately. Been a lot going on, including quite a few electrical storms that Texas has been having recently that has left me without power and internet service at times for these last couple weeks. But I'm back online, and hopefully spring has finished coming in like a lion here. We still have heavy winds, but we're doing good now. So Spin wanted us to reflect upon our first spell work. And I'm always apprehensive when people ask me things like that because I've been doing this for so long that it's hard to remember first spell work because I came up through ceremonial magic, and it's a little bit different than other forms of witchcraft workings. So in ceremonial magic, you learn basics and principles first. And it's not that you're not doing what I consider still spell work. It's just that it's more like spiritual exercises and practices so that you can understand the principles involved and know when you've actually applied them correctly. So I did that for many years because most of the workings that I did were for inner transformation work, not so much outer transformation work. And it's hard for me to tell you, not that I didn't do other kind of spell work, I did. It's just that it's hard to pinpoint a first spell. But since my more going back to my roots and where my family is from, and where a lot of my given gifts that I was born with come from, is my Native American side of the family. And that family came up through all of the Deep South and East Coast, started in North Carolina, and then went through Georgia, and then down through the Trail of Tears, coming through and escaping in Arkansas to Texas. So a lot of the practices that I grew up with my family, if you had asked, which I never thought to ask, which, was really, I'm kicking myself for not asking more about what they were doing and what I was brought up with. But it was forms of hoodoo or folk magic type things that they did. Even down to recipes of family recipes that we've had for generations still came from that time of a lack of nothing. And so hoodoo magic fits most what they were performing. And the more that I had studied this, now they would not have told you they were performing magic. They would have told you that they were doing what they knew to make it so. And they would have had total belief that God was doing this and that it was just the way things were, and they didn't question it. They were brought up to do this. They did it because of that, and they knew that if they did this particular thing or they drank this particular thing, that it would give them the desired results that they were after. They never questioned where it came from. They never questioned why they did it. They just knew it produced results, and they had total faith that it was going to produce the results, which is one of the first principles of magic, having the total faith that it is going to work. If self-doubt comes in, that's when things go crazy. So the first magic that I did, that I used an actual Christian Bible verse, is the one that I've chose to share with y'all today. And I was brought up Christian, but probably since the age of 15, 16, somewhere in that time frame, I started rejecting the church for many reasons, most of which is I saw hypocrisy, and I didn't feel like they were teaching me anything anymore. They were only talking about giving money and stuff like that in the churches that I was in. I am in no way condemning all churches. I know that there are many very good preachers and priests and pastors and reverends and whatever else they want to call themselves that teach a lot of principles that can be found in the Bible. And although I rejected Christianity as my choice of religion, I still saw the basic tenets as very good foundation stepping stones to do anything. So I didn't reject all of the work. But something didn't fit right, and I moved on to other things to explain it. But I can remember that, I'm not even sure when this book came out, but it was all the rage, and I decided that through all of the work that I had been doing, all of the principles that I had learned in ceremonial magic work, and then in starting to slowly incorporate other traditions into my working. And I had the background of folk magic running through, which is very Christianized in a lot of ways and respects. I had never used a Christian Bible verse in an actual spell until I did this one. And I'm not going to tell you that it is entirely because I used this Christian verse that this happened. It was that a lot of elements came and fell together. And that's what made this spell work so powerful when I did it. I approached it from a total faith standpoint that what I asked the universe for, the universe was going to respond. And that I used the principles also of a book called The Isaiah Effect. And where that principle was, when you go sit down in prayer or in magic, you're already thanking the universes for already making it happen, that it's already come to pass, that it is just a matter of you seeing it here, but it was already on its way, and so you were giving thanks and gratitude. And basically, that was the principle of this little book, and it was called The Prayer of Jabez. Now, Jabez is not a big character in the Bible. He has a very small amount of time being written about in the Bible, but it was something that he did, and it was, let me pull it out. The prayer goes like this. And Jabez called on the God of Israel, saying, "Oh, that you would bless me indeed, and enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me, and that you would keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain." So God granted him what he requested. And it's 1 Chronicles 4:10. It doesn't sound like a whole lot, but when you read the little book, it explains basically principles of magic. And when you ask, and what I asked for, Texas had been in a drought for over 20 years when I started asking for basically rain. And the area that I lived in, Sweeney Switch, Texas, is a small, not even on the map place that is at the top end of Lake Corpus Christi, which is the water supply for all of Corpus Christi and most of South Texas. That lake had always, any rain that had come into Texas through that drought, the rain seemed to go anywhere but the lake. It was like there was a big black void over the lake area and the rain would not come. And so I got in my truck that day and I was headed to work. And I was driving along the county roads and everything was so dry, so parched, so dead looking, so hot, so everything miserable. And I started using the principle of visualization that the Isaiah effect had in it, where it talks about a Native American praying for rain. And it wasn't praying for rain, he prayed rain. And how he did that was to sit there and start visualizing the feel of rain, the smell of rain as it hits the parched earth, the sight of rain when everything is juicy and alive, wet, green, the smell of the earth as it comes through when the rain, the smell of rain itself, the feeling of everything cooling down, cooling off. And I put this all into what I was thinking and feeling. And I was thanking the universe for bringing the rain. And I was totally wrapped up in the feeling that I was playing in the rain, that I was sloshing in mud puddles, and that I was totally, everything was totally hydrated again. And I ended it with that prayer of Jabez as well that I had memorized, and because it's only a few short lines, I said it with power and conviction. And then I did one final thing in the closing of it. I said, no matter what, I would never complain about what the inconveniences that rain can bring. It can bring around that you have to slosh through mud when you're trying to go to work. It means that you might get wet when you're trying to get in your vehicle to go somewhere. It may mean that the roads are hard to drive, navigate. It may mean that there is flooding in the streets. It didn't matter. I said, no matter what you bring, I will not complain. I will not complain one bit about any inconvenience of it, that I was going to have perfect gratitude for all of it and everything that it represented. And I went to work. Out of the blue, while I was at work, we got 19 inches of rain in a single hour. It started about 2 hours after I got to work. Inside of that week, Sweeney Switch got 32 or 33, I believe it was 33 inches of rain in a single week. It washed out our road, and I could not actually go back home for over another week. So it was almost 2 weeks that I had to live at my mom and dad's because I couldn't make it back to the place my husband and I were living at the time because the road had washed out. And like I said, I wasn't going to complain. He actually, to get access out, had to get access from the large ranch that was right off our property, and he had to go through the ranch and travel almost 25 miles through that ranch to hit another road to come back and bring me supplies and stuff. But he wasn't going to be off the property that long, so he just took that inconvenience and did it. I, however, stayed at my parents' house to make it more convenient for me to get back and forth to work. So that is the first time I officially used a full-out hoodoo spell where I used Christian Bible verses as spell work in combination with all of the other principles that I had learned in ceremonial magic, and that became one of the most powerful spells I ever did. And I was true to my word. I did not complain, but from that point on, I knew to be more specific in what I asked for. And I told the universe that from now on that I'll ask for about 5 inches of rain next time instead of the deluge that it brought me. But that is just to show you the power of magic and the power of working. It didn't, the Bible verse didn't make that spell so powerful. And it was the fact that I had total faith that I was already thanking it for already happening. And that's the gist of what I really want to get across to everyone, is that it was something that helped me bring all the principles together for one powerful spell work. And that is that you can find magic in anything as well. And that if you study everything that comes in your path, then you will be able to understand the principles of magic better, because every form of religion and spirituality has magic principles involved in it. And that is when I started learning that I didn't need to reject anything, that I needed to encompass everything to fully understand what I was doing in my work, to make it as powerful and as strong as it could possibly be. And that means coming from a place of acceptance instead of rejection of any and every path. And that includes paths that seem scary to people too, not just like Christian path that a lot of pagans have a problem with because of the persecution that the Christian church did. Well, that was the powers that were trying to rule the church that did that to us, not the principles that are found in between the lines of the Bible. And that's why hoodoo and voodoo magic can be extremely powerful while using Christianized Bible verses. It's not the Bible verse, it is the principles that are held in between there that are what makes the magic powerful. It is using those principles and understanding those principles, and it doesn't really matter what the words are if you have internally that place inside you in the right spot, and you can be unstoppable when it comes to anything that you are putting your mind to putting out there. So just hope that is some kind of help to people who are starting on their path and starting to work principles of magic in their own life. Thank you, and y'all have a very blessed day. Bye.